Qu'est-ce que c'est? Qu'est-ce que c'est? Ho ho ho! Sacré bleu! Qu'est-ce que c'est? Qu'est-ce que c'est?
Well, what's a guy doing now? I don't know. I really don't know. I guess I wanted to play Daniel Boone, Trailblazer. You know. But here's a little story for you. Well, maybe it's not so much a story as it is just a fact. My 91 Silver Dorado Z71, you know, old blue, my daily driver, really, just my beat around farm truck, get to work, run to town truck. It's getting so bad it's starting to scare even me, which that says a lot. You know, no one can get in or out of the thing because of the way the doors latch or don't latch. The $600 salvage yard transmission installed price, that tells you how cheap it was. I had that put in at the salvage yard. They put it in for $600. You know, they pulled it out of a Tahoe or something or whatever and threw it in the truck. Overdrive is really angry, really upset. The steering, there's something going on. I know a wheel bearing's out on the right front. I can hear that growling. I had it in the other shop the other day, and as I was backing out and pulling out, it sounded terrible. I mean, I just can't trust it, is what I'm saying. So I either need to fix it. Well, we'll get into that. But this came up. Coworkers saw this in the classifieds online, and it was $1,500 OBO. Called the guy. I said, I have no idea what you have in it. I'm going to start at $1,000. He said, I'll do $1,200. And sales tax will be included in that. Just $1,200. The thing is, it was traded in to him as a running and driving vehicle, but I guess it was just dropped off there because it had been running and driving, but it no longer did. So I ran there this morning, checked it out before he even got there, looked it over. It's really clean inside and out. Popped the hood, I grabbed the serpentine belt, and I could spin the engine. Oil looked good. He just said over the phone last night that it was just dead, basically. No power, no nothing. So I was just banking on the fact that we had an electrical issue, hopefully something easy. But for the price I paid, you know, these are probably worth $5,000 to $7,000. This is an 08. I don't even know how many miles are on this thing, to be honest with you. I can get my money out of it. We have room to put some money in it. Not that I have it to put it in, but this will be a temporary, hopefully a temporary vehicle, get-to-work vehicle, four-wheel drive if I need it this winter yet. And then we have some decisions to make. Anyway, what do you say we pull this thing off and just check it out? Could I just, you know, put a battery charger on it, make sure wires are tight, connections are tight. There is something inside that's a concern, but I'm going to pull it off, put a charger on it, and then we'll look it over a little closer. Well, my concern was a car part I found in the glove box, or in the center console here. I guessed what it was before I even opened it up, you know, and seeing the size of the box, you probably can guess too. We got lock cylinder, ignition switches, whatever. It's opened. I don't know if this is used. Those are brand new keys, anyway. Put this in gear. Why can't I can't pull the key out. And that there could be part of the problem, you know, I don't know. We'll figure that out. But even a bigger concern is not even a car part. That's in the middle seat. We got, let me go around. No, not the hat. Of all the things you don't want to find in a car. Yeah, we got a bedpan, you know. And we got a pad, a soaker bed. Oh gosh. Where are you? There you go. Okay. Put my head under here. And do this one-handed. Nope. Nope. Okay. Overall, very clean under here. I'm seeing no major oil leaks or anything like that. Like I said, I grabbed the serpentine belt and it seemed to move, which is a great thing. So I am going to pop, well, I'm sure I can get to it. Well, potty time is over. I threw that stuff out, got it out of there, as well as about 3 million masks that I found stuffed down in the cracks. Already got dome lightage, as you can see. Rear view mirrors hanging down, don't know why. This thing is loaded with the options. You got the heated seats, you got the door locks, you got the windows, you got the multiple position, you know, set it and forget it deal. That trim is missing there, but it's down in the pocket. Whatever that means, don't know if there was a problem or if it's just loose. We got a JVC CD player with remote. Oh yeah. Electric mirrors, sunroof. It's loaded, ladies and gentlemen, is what I'm telling. Little bit of a body problem here. We'll have to fabricate some clips and get that snug again. The old Vortec 4200 is in place. I checked the oil when I was there before I loaded it. It looked good and clean. I didn't look at the transmission. This was still of a bygone age when you could look at it. Yeah, it's brown. Reddish brown. It's due, you know. It's due, but not, it's not muddy, at least. And at least it's there. Oh, man, that clamp's tight. So I really think we just have an older vehicle driven by older folks based on the evidence we see here, you know. The key is stuck in the ignition, which I'm hopeful that is the only reason we got that replacement one. I could even try squirting some lubricant in here and seeing if that helps. Rear access open. We got a radio going nuts. Where's it? Power? No. Muting? No. Power. source, menu, equalizer, eject. Is there a power button on there? What's that? Your little USBs, your USBs, and your AUXes? Well, I don't know. Can you even turn it off? I don't even see any. Let's try holding the big one down. Preset mode. I did not want to. Why does it sound like an Atari? Anyway, let's close this rear hatch. That lock worked. 182,000 miles. Oh, she tried to crank. If the gas gauge is correct, it's full. That was worth the money right there. Yeah, so when I called the guy yesterday, he said the thing was just dead. No response out of the... Oh, can I open the thing? No response out of the electrical system at all. Then when I picked it up this morning, he said they had put a jump box on it, and they had power to the thing, but they still didn't crank. So, how cool would it be if I just got a vehicle for way less than it's worth because of a dead battery? I mean, honestly. That would just make a guy's day. The tires are still usable, you know, they're getting down there. Getting down there. We're not to the wear marks yet between the tread. Rear wipers hanging in. I'm afraid to go poking around in these pockets. Oh, even the passenger seat's power. Well, I gotta be careful. The missus might want to take over on this thing. I'll be driving the town and country to work and back. K-tag. They took the turnpike a lot. What do we got here? Oh, OnStar. Rock out to an OnStar CD, you know. 08 Trail. Getting to know. I want to get to know my 08 Trailblazer. We'll snap that back in, see if she stays. Probably not. Kind of looks broken. A Stanley screwdriver. This deal's getting better and better. No idea. And someone's eating Little Debbie's. The worst part of it's the carpet. I mean, it looks like 3 gallons of Diet Coke have been on this thing. So, anyway, I'm going to keep poking around, let it charge, and I'll bring you back just to maybe check the tires, air pressure in the tires. And before I try it again, I will bring you back. So I've had it charging pretty high rate, a good half an hour, and it's just unfortunately bad. But even before we begin, it's in bad for 12 volt. And when I test it, well, she goes down past 0. She's got negative voltage. So it's about lunchtime here, dinner time as I would call it. I am going to run home, I guess I'll pull the battery out of my pickup. I don't really want to leave my pickup stranded, but I'm not going to drive my pickup right now, so I need to do something here. I'm going to try to swap batteries around. Hopefully it'll fit where that one is. Then we'll try it. Well, they both seem to be a 78 series battery, and My terminals seem to be in the correct orientation. My truck battery's been weak for I don't know how long. Could be because of my alternator on the pickup. I don't know. You'll get Bruce Willis out of here. We may check the water and put it on a charger for a while, see if we get any reaction out of that one. But all right. Continental going in. Why are we locked up? What's the point of that? What? Oh. Okay. Do we have any fuel pumpage? If I could turn this radio off, where is the power? I mean, oh, maybe this. Okay. Oh, I think it's going to try. Let me put the charger back on it, get this battery going. We'll try it again. Wondering what kind of shape fuel filter's in this thing, but I think it's going to go. Yeah. Come on, baby. We may have a weak fuel pump. I don't know. I'm new here. It just wants to. It wants to leave this on. Got a little pressure in it, anyway. Huh. Well, I guess the guy should have brought his fuel pressure tester. It's actually kind of funny now that I think about it, how much a guy likes inline 6-cylinders, and here we are. Anyway, I tested fuel, and at least when it's cranking, I've got a good 60 pounds on the gauge there. So I'm assuming that's okay. Hooked up my scan tool, and I've got a trouble code in there already for crank position sensor, so I'm betting that's it. If so, that is a $16 fix, and that is right down there below the start. Wait a minute. Okay, so I thought that deal with the white connector was my crank position sensor, but the hole for the crank sensor is right there, and the harness is hanging there. What in the world? There is no crank sensor on this thing. What is going on? And what are you? You're loose. Is that where this goes? I don't understand. Well, we'll leave that for another day, but why would you take that out? And anyway, like I was saying, we need a crank sensor. Something else just completely random caught my eye. I've got no brake booster check valve. Why? What's going on? What is going on? This makes me wonder if this is salvage part. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's very interesting. But I have got a knock sensor on order. I will track down a check valve and we will reconvene. So the guy got a little impatient. My usual parts house didn't have the parts available from their warehouse. So, yeah, I could have ordered them online and saved a lot of money. I way overpaid. Ended up calling O'Reilly's. They could get them overnight. But boy, you paid through the teeth for these things. Ended up, these two with tax, $70, which... that's just, I should have paid half that much, maybe, but I got them today, you know, so picked up this at my regular parts store, and, you know, whenever I get a new car, I don't know the history of it. This has old gas. I looked down at the sensor ring for the crankshaft sensor with the scope, and I could see a bunch of, you know, carboned up oil on the ring itself, which is, it's just normal for inside of an engine. But I like to throw, you know, a good pint of this in the engine oil, and maybe the same in the gas, and just help clean things up once again. And not a bad idea to just do that on a regular basis with oil changes and so forth. But anyway, also got rear view mirror adhesive, so we'll get that going. Probably going to start with that, and then we will work on the engine and see if this thing fires up. Wonder if I should turn the battery charger on again. Just for funs. Might as well. Should my finger bend that far? Alright, so I've got a standard, which I've been using standard electrical products ever since I started working on cars, honestly, as a teenager, you know. In my mind, it's a trustworthy brand. Everything has changed in this world so much. I still use them. This particular sensor is made in Japan, of all places. So, anyway, a good brand as far as I'm concerned. You can see the empty hole down there. I believe I showed you that yesterday. I can't show me installing it, so I'll get that in. Another concern I have is I checked the antifreeze, or lack thereof. It was completely void, or is devoid. Is that a word in English? I don't know. I put a gallon of it in last night. It took it all. It needs more. Nothing has leaked out overnight on the floor. I don't know if someone drained it. Do people do that still? At least where it freezes, do they drain their antifreeze for some reason? I don't know. Maybe they had water in it for some reason. They knew they needed to drain it. But that's a concern. But all I can do is try it, you know. Okay, if you see the black and purple connector, that's the crankshaft sensor. Got that all hooked up. Also got my arm completely wrapped up in what has to be Black Widow web, so that's fun. But this thing was sitting out in sub-zero temperatures for 2 weeks, so not at all concerned about that. Anyway, we're going to put this booster part in. I really don't know if any of this is interesting to you, but it's what we're doing. And O'Reilly sold me a GM part. Apparently a lot of this stuff is just kind of not too popular anymore. You know, that these engines just did not get used a whole lot. This engine family is what they called Atlas, is what GM dubbed them as, and they had 4 cylinders, the 5 cylinders that went in the Colorado pickups, if you remember that, and then these 6 cylinders. And they just, you know, they only lasted or were used for a few short years, to my knowledge anyway. And I am still dumbfounded as to why someone would yank this check valve out. Unless it actually was leaking. Maybe they were getting their list together for all the repairs this thing needed, and they just never got back to it. I don't know. But this should certainly seal up a vacuum leak. Should that AC line be like that? Right over the cap? I don't think so. Anyway, I have about 20 more minutes to wait for the rear view mirror adhesive to dry. So I'm gonna apply our MMO here. I'm gonna go get some water. I've got some more antifreeze. We'll get that filled up the best we can. Look around for a leak. And we will try to start it here in just a minute. The tension is terrible. Do you know what one of the best things about driving one of these is? Is that you don't have to be the one looking at the front end. I mean, everything else is okay, but those headlights. Goodness, what is this? A Japanese cartoon or something? The marvel's in, the sensor's in, the water's in, the check valve is in, the mirror is drying. The battery might have some electrons. This is not what I wanted. Alright, at this point, here's what I'm thinking. And I admit, I'm starting to get a little gun-shy about the whole project, just because of the state that the things I'm discovering, the odd, half-hearted, half-finished things, the missing things. Part of the problem is I only have your basic OBD2 scanner. Not that that's a bad thing, because I really dislike that kind of thing. But so I get trouble codes, but I can't necessarily track in real time what individual sensors are seeing and so forth. So I have crankshaft position sensor codes. My hope is those were in place, those codes were thrown before someone took the sensor out, you know. So they were getting a check engine light, maybe it wasn't running correctly, maybe it wasn't starting at all, or a hard start, and it threw a code for the crankshaft position sensor. Someone took it out. I actually found it laying in among the wiring harnesses, and that was that. Then it had some ECM communication error codes in there. I called a friend of mine back home who does this on a daily basis, modern cars. He said more than likely you don't have to worry about that. That's probably just, you know, they see that kind of thing all the time. There was just a communication problem at some point. I had wondered if it was even in relation to the dead battery, which could be, I suppose. I don't know. So I'm hoping I can just ignore any of that. Now I'm moving on to fuel, and I'm seeing some pretty weird stuff. I ran it by him as well, and his opinion wasn't too encouraging, but I'm going to see what you think. So come on in here and let's take a look at this. So the thing is, I can get the pump to run, but not consistently. And I've done things. I've switched out the fuel pump relay with a similar, no, it's actually this one. I took out one for the headlights and switched them around, no different. The thing I found odd right off the bat is when I would push the Schrader valve with my knife, here the test port going into the fuel rail, I would just get a psh, and that's it. There was not a lot of fuel. It was just psh, which means to me it's not really pumping a whole lot. It's hitting. It does go up to 60 pounds, which is where I should be. But well, let me just set you up. Let me try and I'm gonna have to zip tie this thing or something, and I'll set you up. All right, I'm gonna be in there turning the key on, but in my perspective, my world, I hit the key to the run position. That fuel pressure should pressure up the system, correct? I think you would agree. And it should be consistent. It should certainly hold pressure. The friend I was talking about said, yeah, it's kind of a joke-ish among GM products that as long as you're getting pressure at some point, it's probably okay. I don't really agree with that. Now, the guy is a Ford man. You know, that family was they ran a little weird like that. But in my opinion, electronic fuel pump, you turn the key on, you should absolutely hear that pump running. It should build pressure and it should hold pressure. Let me turn the key on. Well, okay. My test port leaked for some reason because I moved it, I suppose. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to hit the key and we'll see what happens. And again, I have heard it running, or the pump running, but there we have 0 PSI. I hope I don't lose you here. Let me adjust to you. I'm going to crank you a little. Okay, the battery's dead, but there you saw just one little crank. It shoots up to 60 psi, and I immediately lose pressure. I'm going to try just the key again. Up to 60. And then we start losing pressure. The key is still on. Let me crank it. And I know it's not cranking like it should, but right now, key's on, we're losing pressure. To me, it should be telling it to pressure up, and it's not. Nothing's running. So guys, what do you think? Would you just dive into a fuel pump? I went ahead and ordered one. In my mind, with the car sitting still, it does get the signal to pump to engage the pump. You know, it's not like a loose connection is working or anything. I simply think it's a matter of the pump not being consistent, not holding pressure. I don't know, but I'm ill at ease in my mind, to say the least, that is the problem. Am I not getting a signal from something somewhere at some point? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. I don't normally like to do projects like this in this regard, but I just don't have the scan tool to monitor what the computer is telling the fuel pump to do, and I don't have the wiring schematic to do it the old school way, the analog way with a test light, you know. Key on, what should I probe to determine whether or not the fuel pump is getting a signal. I don't have any of that. I don't even know if I want any of that. So I went ahead and got a pump. I don't like it, but we're just going to throw a part at it and see what happens. I probably couldn't be encouraged to recommend any of you do what I'm doing here, but a guy doesn't feel like, well, he always has a choice. But to get done what I want to get done, all I have is a jack stands, you know. I needed about 2 foot of clearance. I think I can just squeak by, dropping that tank down. I don't have, you know, the proper jack, like a transmission jack or something, to grab the tank. And of course, the typical problem, it's almost full of gas. So I'm going to use one of these scissor lift table things. That one exactly. And that's 13 inches. My tank is roughly 11 tall. So I'm hoping I can just squeak her under there, you know. If I need to take the running board off, I guess I can. Hope I don't have to. But now I can get up under here and pull this thing out and just try to get everything I can ready before that pump arrives. So kind of just make it as painless as possible. Somehow this pump body has swelled. I mean, it doesn't fit through the opening anymore. I'll be right back. Oh, that was beautiful. I'm doing great. If you've ever been on the YouTube, like you are right now, and wanted to know how to do something on a more modern vehicle, you might have come across some guys called 1A Auto. I believe that's their channel name on there. Anyway, they give some pretty good down-to-earth videos, instructional videos on replacing parts, and you go to their website. Again, I believe it's 1A Auto. I might have to look into that before I publish this video, but they offer some of their own stuff, you know, their own parts. They have an online search engine for your particular car, and this is a direct replacement for my application here. and this was $99 free shipping versus your typical price. Now, what's the quality, one might ask? I honestly don't know. I really don't know. It's even their own brand on the body here. Everything looks good, looks correct, looks like the orig, you know. But I thought it was worth trying, at least once, you know. Brass punch again. Alright, I am going to see you on the other side of the installation. No sense in watching all that again. All the tears and the blood and the whining. I'm going to clean this up, finish cleaning this up, get all the road rash off it, the gravel. And we'll see you with the vehicle back on the ground, and I hope it fires. Oh boy. Well, I will break in on you a little sooner. I just turned the key on, heard the pump run, which it wasn't doing before. It pressured up and stopped. I'm just looking for leaks, not seeing any. We go to my pressure gauge. Key is off. And assuming it went up to 60, I don't know. It's holding steady at above 40 right now. Just for fun, let me hit the key again. That is, just turn it on, not... It's running. Shut off. Right now it's at 50, yeah, a little over 50. So I think we're on the right track. It's acting nothing like it was. So, like I say, let me get it down on the ground and we're going to see if she runs. This is not what it looks like. Okay, so maybe it is. So at last, a little bit of sunlight begins to filter through the canopy and penetrate the old solid rock of a cranium. What we have going on here, 2008 Trailblazer, something happened to the original engine. Somebody put in a salvage replacement 6-cylinder engine. Hey, they look the same, right? Well, in 2008, GM or Chevrolet, whoever you want to blame, I believe it was in 2008, don't get me, I mean, take this with a grain of salt, I'm just learning about these firsthand myself, I've never really done much. 2008-ish, they put a different style reluctor wheel on the crankshaft, and I believe they also revamped the electronic system, the PCM to ECM, and you know, differences there. So if you put in something older than an 08 engine, your crankshaft position sensor is not going to read RPM because the reluctor wheel is way different, and we will verify that here in a minute. But it became very clear eventually what was going on. The serial number written in paint on the intake manifold, the fact that someone had, you know, obviously they took out the original engine, pulling the brake booster check valve with it, they replaced the engine, voila, no check valve. No coolant. It was kind of an eye-opener when I pulled this engine out. We had missing hardware, broken hardware, seized hardware, and altogether there was a fourth one. Loose hardware. So I'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt and say they just got it in and tried it and it wouldn't run. They pulled the knock sensor out, or someone caught on at some point and figured out they had the wrong engine. I don't know. I bought this from a small town dealer that's kind of local. I'd like to think they didn't know the extent of what was going on. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. You know, they may not have been fully disclosed as to what was going on either. I don't know. But someone put too old of an engine back in it, and they did a very poor job, so I had to fix the problem. So I have an 08 salvaged engine. It's not rebuilt or anything by any means, but it should be the correct one, and we will verify that in a minute. I also went ahead and ordered a correct ECM. I had a concern. It was probably not something necessary, but I had a concern that you know, which engine was this ECM hanging on. I called my Chevy dealer, my closest one, gave him the part number on the back of the ECM. He said that was incorrect for this VIN number. Now, it's the correct style. Could it have the correct programming in it? Yes, it absolutely could. But if not, then I'm stuck another half a day getting the vehicle to the dealer, the cost of reprogramming. Whereas what I did, I just provided my VIN number to an online reprogrammer or refurbisher, and I got an ECM for under $200, pre-programmed, ready to go. So hopefully that won't be an issue. And I have a separate spare 4200 sitting around. So what are we going to do with that? But anyway, I'm going to get this engine off the trailer, set it down here, and we're going to look at the differences.
Is it loose?
I think so.
I think that's the one I'll use. All right, I had the eldest here helping me a little bit. He stripped off the intake and the exhaust manifolds on the new one. The differences, I'll tell you what's going on here. So I believe this to be an 06. Oh, and I told you wrong. In 06, from what I've read some more about them, they bumped the horsepower up to 291. 200, almost 300 horse out of this little 4.2 straight six. Anyway, in 08, they did a redesign. I believe they revamped the electronics system too. PCM, ECM changes going on there and so forth. And this is something I found other guys have run into online. Trying to put an older engine in a newer vehicle. And we see the brass reluctor ring in that hole there. It has very few teeth. Excuse me. Compared to the new ones. And this is not an infallible way, but you can see right there we have an 06 stamped into the power steering bracket. I could not find any information online on dating these blocks. Guys also were on there asking the same question. The only answers I ever found were exterior parts, how to tell what year. No one ever said, according to serial numbers or stampings or anything, how to date a block. One guy actually said he called Chevy Garage looking for information. No, he called 3 Chevy garages, and none of them would tell him how to do that. They themselves didn't know. You can see we got stampings all over the place, but nothing just looks like it makes any sense to me. But we look in this crank sensor hole and you can see the gear in there. Actually, let me turn the screen back on and make sure I'm showing you. Got much more teeth and smaller teeth. And then we go here to this power steering bracket, and this says 08, which the scrapyard I bought this from online was sure to take a picture of, have a picture on their listing. Someone there, scrapyard, was Dykes happy. Every single, you can see my scrap pile, every single pigtail harness connector was snipped with a Dykes. The evap hose going to the throttle body, snipped with a Dykes. They had used plastic strap on a pallet to ship it here. That bad idea. That's all they used. Bad idea. Freight, hauling freight cross country, halfway across the country, no wooden blocking or anything, just relying on those plastic straps on a pallet. Forklift drivers in a hurry, roads are what they are, things swaying in the truck. I think this thing took more than one tumble. EGR, assuming that's what that is, broken. This thing, I don't know if that was broken. Water neck snapped completely off. That cam sensor broken. Neutral safety switch broken. Dipstick tube completely mangled. Just on and on. So I've been stripping down and changing what I need, swapping things over. I think I'm about done. One of our broken off bolts over there was this one here, and here's an exhaust bolt. The same one broke for my son when he was taking the manifold off, so I had to drill that out and use the easy out. Actually, it came with the reverse drill bit before I even got to the easy out, so that was good news. Otherwise, everything's ready to go here. On this old one, the 2 hardest bolts between the engine and transmission are the 2 top ones, obviously. You have to get them from the bottom, and you need a lot of extension. Everything was in place and tight around the bottom, but once we started getting up to these, this one was completely missing. This one was obviously seized up. I think I had another one missing. I think that one was there. That's a starter bolt. I thought I had 2 missing. Anyway, I absolutely could not get this one. It just would not come. So what I ended up having to do is lift the front, unhook my motor mount studs so I could pull the engine forward hanging from the cherry picker, and that gave me enough gap, about 1/2 inch, and then I snuck my Sawzall blade in here from the side, and that was a trick in itself, but I was going to try to whack that bolt in half. You just can't get to it from any direction. It's hidden. You have to feel for it. I only had one blade. It wore out completely. I just was not getting it. I decided, fine, I'm going to break it off the rest of the way. So I got about 4 foot of extension in 1/2 inch drive, and I have a ratchet that's like 24 inches long. So I used that and then a swivel and a socket, So I was clear out by the tail shaft of the transmission, you know, operating the ratchet, and broke that off. Well, it didn't even break off where I cut halfway through the bolt. But anyway, that let me get it out. So we got the right engine, and you think we'd be home free now, but we're actually not. We come over here to the one I just tore out, and you see the back of the crank, the place for the torque converter, and you see this one here. Very small pilot hole in our bolt pattern for the torque converter. Very, very different. You see how much smaller of a torque converter it is. So I'm just hoping. Here you can see this is the old style with that big old pilot on it. These outer dimensions are the same, and so I'm just hoping and praying. There's my small little pilot. Hoping and praying that the inner workings of this torque converter, basically that the transmission in there is going to allow this torque converter to go on. My fear is that they changed engines and transmissions at the same time, and so I've got the old school transmission in there. I don't know. We got to try it. I may be looking at a transmission too. All right, I'm going to jump in here and see if this goes in. Well, that was my fear. The pilot, this input shaft seems to be bigger on the older ones, and I could not find any dimensions on that online.
Okay, just humor me for a second and let's recap. We had the wrong engine in it. Too old of an engine for the computer to read it, the reluctor wheel. Got the correct 2008 engine, we had the wrong torque converter. Got the right torque converter, but we have the wrong transmission. The torque converter doesn't go with this transmission. So everywhere online, getting a salvage transmission, you're going to spend $1,000. Maybe you can find them for $500, $600, $700, but then shipping or freight, it's going to take it right up to $1,000. A rebuilt one from GM dealership, you're talking between $1,000 and $3,000 or $4,000. I called around local salvage yards. There was one in Wichita. As you can understand, these just are not prevalent transmissions because they only used them for 2 years in a product line that's gone, you know. Now there's a lot of them running around. You see Trailblazers and Envoys everywhere, but you know, still 2-year production, there's not a lot around. Found this, it is higher mileage, unfortunately, but auto recyclers in Wichita had it, $350 plus tax. It was about $375.
Okay, so here's the problem right here. Called the Chevy garage, gave them my VIN number again. You see the first 4 digits, 8TWD. That is in fact wrong. Very common transmission for Trailblazers, but it is not correct. We go over to my replacement here, and we got an 8TAD. That is the correct transmission with the small torque converter with the funny little pilot. So Now we should have what we need. I just have to pull it. I don't know about you guys. I love having four-wheel drive available, but it always depresses me knowing I have to pull all this stuff in addition to the transmission. You know, do you know what I'm saying? What do we got? A new process transfer case? All right. Most farmers and off-road guys have a death trap. I have a mobile death trap, so that's cool. You know, some guys are just lucky. Well, I got in a bit of a pickle there. That took me much longer than it should have because my lift, well, it's not my lift, but it would not go up. It was sounding a little odd. It was going down very slowly this morning, slower than usual, and I could not get it to go up. I added oil, didn't help, resorted to Google, took out the relief valve, hosed the other side of this, the valve part. You know, you just unscrew this whole thing, and it's just a relief valve on the other side. Hosed it down with brake cleaner, cleaned it out, and then she worked. So, thank the Lord. I was wigging out a little bit. My little T-cart, this is about all the capacity it can handle, but I'm going to go home and get some dinner. I'm going to pop the transfer case off when I come home, put it on the new one, switch my lines over. They broke the neutral safety switch or whatever's in that. So I'm going to switch the old one to that one. Fuel lines, everything that I need to switch over. Bolt it to the engine. I'm going to put the new torque converter on there, and hopefully we'll be ready to go back in. My confidence is gone. This chaos is ridiculous. My confidence in getting everything back the way it should be, I don't know. I need help. I am mildly apprehensive, well, let's say slightly concerned about the fact that I put the transfer case on already. I just don't know how that's gonna go, but we'll find out. I replaced the front pump seal in here, and I am putting my new remanufactured torque converter in. And we'll just deal with the old one later. I'll go over all of that with you, but it is nice to have something that goes together for once. By the way, I have collected more evidence for the prosecution. The old transmission that was in the vehicle, we clearly have an 05 cast into the body of the transmission. And the new one from the salvage yard, the shadow's right in the way, but we clearly have an 08. Huh. Jeez. Man, that thing's long. Holy cow.
Is this going a Trailblazer or a top fuel dragster? Good grief, this thing is long. Anyway, I'm imagining, for some reason, just a little bit more than a struggle getting this in there. We'll do our best. If I have to drop the transfer case back off, I will. I've got my vent tubes in place. My fuel lines are in place. I was considering my cooler lines for the transmission going to the radiator. Maybe I just should do that. I don't know. I can probably get them in there. What do you think? You want me to put this through there? Okay. I'm not normally a cussing man, but Engelbert Humperdinck, this was a job. My goodness. But I did get it, all in one piece, all in one shot. I mean, it took a lot of jogging and finagling with jacks and pry bars and ratchet straps, but I got it. So, got another story I can tell, right? I guess. For tonight, I am going to button this up, so I'm sure it's not just going to fall out, you know. I'll get the transmission mount tightened down. I don't know if I'll work on it much more after that, and then tomorrow I will come back and we'll just see how far we get. That's all I can promise here.
I have oil in, I have antifreeze in, at least the beginnings of it. I have all but 1 quart of the recommended amount of ATF in. I've got my weak battery back in. I'm going to try it. It's Monday, I just stopped by. We have a light on. Fuel pump priming. Gotta turn the radio off. Me and this radio are gonna have problems. Oil pressure, batteries charging. Something doesn't seem too happy, but that might be normal. Can hear that exhaust leak. One of our coil packs could easily be bad. You know, we'll just have to check things out, but it's running! It is running! I should put it up a little. Exhaust sounds terrible. So if you want to be a dingus like me, when you're apprehensive about trying something for the first time, go ahead and leave important things like throttle bodies disconnected. Stuff like that, you know. It makes it more exciting. I plugged it in. Now we can try it again. That'd be a good song title or a poem or something. If you want to be a dingus like me. It's catchy. I also have a noisy, I think it's the alternator, perhaps. Noisy bearing in there somewhere, and we'll figure that out later. We're not too concerned about that right now. She fires right up now. Got a little bit of a leak since it's been sitting. I don't know. I could have even spilled some ATF filling that up. We'll have to pay attention to that when we get under there again. Something else to check out. The exhaust manifolds both are cracked. You can hear this thing ticking. Both of them are cracked. There. I don't know if this is cast steel or cast iron. If this is cast steel, I might try welding it and get that changed out someday. Get my foot in here. Reverse. Hey, where are you running away here? Slow down. Slow down. Drive. Excellent. Okay, back up I go, recheck some things, put tires on, check for a leak. I think we're about done on the lift here. Then we just put the face back on. These vehicles have what they call a header panel, something like that. And this was the state of the one in the vehicle.
You know, you just rip that apart when you take this thing apart. You know, it's all tubular frame so you can pull the drivetrain out, and they needed a panel to hook the headlights to and so forth, I guess. So that's what they came up with. So we just went on eBay and ordered it was a $50-some, well no, it was $68 free shipping, which was really one of the cheapest ones I could find online. So that's what we did. Even came with new metal clips for the headlights. What do you know? So that's going to go in there. This is where I was missing all the pieces along the top earlier. You know, my confusion. So my headlights clearly need a lot of work. But we can snap the grill back on. I'll be on the road tomorrow. I can stop and get some more 10 mil bolts, you know. We were missing some hardware from the get-go, so. I'm missing the clip here, that's why they had a screw through there. I may put one in there till I get another clip. Like I said, I don't have quite all the hardware I need for the body stuff. I've got the hood on the top rack. But what do you say we take it for a quick test drive? I said it'd be quick. So I think we're about due for a win on this project. Wouldn't you agree? There are no new leaks under the vehicle. I left it overnight, and that is great news. The noisy bearing, the squeaky bearing, is the front bearing on the alternator. So I'll do a little research, see if I can figure out what bearing number that is. I'd rather just pop the thing apart, replace the bearing, than buy a whole new alternator, unless they're, you know, the same price, which wouldn't surprise me these days. The thing fires right up, a little noisy, you know, between that and the exhaust leak, but that's okay. That is of small consequence. Got all my bolts in, stopped and got bolts. Hood went right back on, lined right back up. Of course, I marked how it needed to go. So I'm going to drive this the few miles home. And then we got to shuttle vehicles around since I have two here. And over the next day or two, I'm just going to drive it, recheck fluids, tranny fluid, what's it called? Transfer case fluid. Of course, engine oil, better stay full. And then we can move on to other things. So, let's give this thing a shot.
Well, there you go, guys. What do you think? Got the Trailblazer up and running, got the correct drivetrain in the thing, ready to go. Now, I'm still playing around. I need to do some other things. I may have to learn the crankshaft position sensor and so forth. I put an alternator on it. The bearings were very noisy. I just put a belt on it this morning. That was worn out. You know, it's to be expected. So we'll continue to tinker on it, but otherwise I have got a running and driving vehicle to get to work and back and so forth, and whatever I need to do. What would you have done? Would I have, looking back, would I have done this on purpose? No, I would not have taken the time and the expense getting into something I knew I would have to do all this to. But once I was into it, there was no turning back. I either had to get it on the road or get hosed on it, you know, take a bath. You know, what's another term? So we just kept forging ahead. You know, there was a couple times there I told my wife, I really don't want to do this. But at the end of the day, what are you going to do? It's, you know, so we did it, and it is on the road. What would you guys have done? For someone looking for a project that likes more modern vehicles, probably would have been a great project. I don't know. It's not my thing, but we did it. As far as the fuel pump and the ECM, what would you have done there? I am 100% sure the existing fuel pump was weak. Most likely it would have ran the engine, but as we saw with the pressure tester, it was not holding adequate pressure, what they're supposed to do, and I did not see a reliable enough kick-on the pump. The two different pumps were night and day different. The one I have in it performs a whole lot better. So I think that's worth it just to, you know, it prevents me a couple months down the road from having to do the same thing, basically. Now the ECM, there again, I could have waited once we got the whole drivetrain issues sorted out. Maybe it would have run this engine. There's no telling if the programming on that ECM was actually for this 08. It could have come with the 05, 06 engine. Like I said, I called dealership. They said that part number did not match what should be in here, but there, you know, I don't know what the programming was in that thing. And for me to haul this, load this on a trailer, haul it 40 miles one way, get it on the schedule, have it marooned at a dealership. We all know what current dealerships are like. You can't get anything done in a timely fashion. For all that to happen, honestly, less than $200, it was probably worth doing what I did. You know, it's just done, and I know I got it right, and I can resell the ECM. I will probably resell the engine as well. I just can't get into the spending the money right now and keeping that thing around. And we'll see how it goes. If it doesn't sell, it doesn't sell. But definitely everything I bought that I can resell, I'm going to resell. Engine, transmission, second torque converter, ECM, all of that's going to get listed. So Looks like we have company over there, so I better sign off. Oh, and my sincerest apologies to all Canadian trappers and mountain men of early America. I certainly hope I did not insult your intelligence or your bravery. Okay? No. Just having fun. Hey, guys, thanks for joining me. God bless you. See you on the next one.
Sacre bleu! Qu'est-ce que c'est? Qu'est-ce que c'est?